Welcome back to Reality Reflections. Today's video is a powerful one. We're diving into life-changing principles that have the potential to completely transform how you live, see the world, and make decisions. If you're feeling stuck, uninspired, or even just looking for a breakthrough, then keep watching. By the end of this video, you'll be equipped with insights that can change your life forever. And remember to subscribe for more content that brings real-life wisdom and motivation right to you. One of the most fundamental shifts you can make on this journey of personal growth is embracing self-acceptance. Think about it. How often are we caught up in this relentless chase for perfection? We strive for the flawless image, the perfect life, the ideal version of ourselves that often feels just out of reach. But here's the truth. This pursuit of perfection often does the opposite of what we intend. It sets us up for disappointment, for feeling like we're never enough. True growth, meaningful change, it doesn't begin with achieving that flawless state. It begins when we learn to accept ourselves exactly as we are, embracing our imperfections, our flaws, and yes, even our mistakes. It's about recognizing that these perceived imperfections are not things to be ashamed of, but rather, they're integral parts of what makes us unique. Imagine for a moment letting go of that constant need to be perfect. What if, instead of striving for an unattainable ideal, we focused our energy on working with what we have, on cultivating our strengths and acknowledging our weaknesses without judgment? This, my friends, is where true growth takes root. It's in those moments when we stop fighting against ourselves and start embracing every part of who we are. Letting go of perfectionism doesn't mean we stop striving for better. It simply means we approach our journey with kindness, with compassion for ourselves. We celebrate our progress, we learn from our setbacks, and we understand that growth is not linear. It's a process, a journey with its own unique twists and turns. When we let go of the need to be perfect, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. Let's talk about responsibility, a word that can sometimes feel heavy, maybe even a little daunting. But trust me, when we approach it from the right perspective, taking responsibility becomes not a burden, but a source of immense power. It's about recognizing that we are the authors of our own lives, the architects of our own destinies. Taking complete responsibility means acknowledging that we have the power to choose how we respond to every situation, every challenge, every triumph. It means recognizing that our lives are not merely a series of random events, but rather a reflection of the choices we make, both big and small. Now, this doesn't mean we ignore external factors or pretend that life is always fair. It simply means that we shift our focus from what's happening to us to how we're choosing to respond. It's about understanding that while we can't control everything that life throws our way, we can always control how we react, how we interpret, and how we move forward. Think about it. When we blame others, when we point fingers at external circumstances, we give away our power. We become victims of our circumstances instead of the creators of our reality. But when we take responsibility, even when it's difficult, we reclaim that power. We step into a place of ownership, a place where we can affect real, lasting change. Let's talk about comfort zones. We all have them, those familiar spaces where everything feels safe, predictable, easy. But real growth happens when we venture outside of those comfort zones. It happens when we challenge ourselves, push past limits, and embrace the unknown. Discomfort often means we're on the right track, stepping into our potential. Growth requires us to embrace the unfamiliar, even if it's scary at first. Those breakthroughs rarely happen in our comfort zones. Prioritizing growth can be as simple as trying something new or facing a fear. Let's talk about the power of gratitude, a practice so simple yet so profound that it has the ability to transform our lives from the inside out. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you, it's about shifting our entire perspective, about training our minds to focus on what's good, what's working, what's already present in our lives. Think about it. How often do we find ourselves dwelling on what's lacking, what's wrong, what we wish we had? It's easy to get caught up in that cycle of negativity, to focus on the gaps rather than the gifts. But when we cultivate gratitude, we break free from that cycle. We start to see the world through a lens of abundance, recognizing the countless blessings that surround us every single day. Now, I understand that when we're going through challenging times, when life throws curveballs our way, it can feel difficult to access gratitude. But it's precisely during those moments that practicing gratitude becomes even more important. Because even in the midst of difficulty, there's always something to be grateful for, even if it's simply the breath in our lungs, the roof over our heads, or the love of a pet. Imagine for a moment starting your day by reflecting on a few things you're grateful for. It could be something as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a beautiful sunrise, or a kind word from a loved one. When we begin our day with gratitude, we set the tone for a more positive, more fulfilling experience. Practicing gratitude doesn't have to be time-consuming or complicated. It can be as simple as keeping a gratitude journal, writing down a few things you're thankful for each night before bed. Let's talk about failure, a word that often carries so much weight, so much fear, so much perceived shame. We're conditioned from a young age to avoid failure, to strive for perfection, to see it as the opposite of success. But what if I told you that failure, when viewed through the right lens, can actually be one of our greatest teachers, one of the most powerful catalysts for growth? Think about it. How often do we shy away from pursuing our dreams, from taking risks, from stepping outside of our comfort zones simply because we're afraid of failing? We let that fear paralyze us, hold us back from experiencing the fullness of what life has to offer. But what if instead of fearing failure, we embraced it as an inevitable part of the journey, as a stepping stone on the path to success? Now, I'm not suggesting we aim for failure, or that we celebrate our mistakes. It's about shifting our perspective, about recognizing that failure is not the opposite of success, but rather a stepping stone on the path towards it. It's about understanding that every successful person, every innovator, every change maker, has encountered their fair share of failures along the way. Imagine for a moment, approaching a challenge with the understanding that failure is not only possible, but probable. It's about entering the arena with the willingness to learn, to adapt, to iterate, and to keep going even when things don't go as planned. When we shift our perspective on failure, we free ourselves from the fear that often holds us back. We start to see setbacks not as roadblocks but as detours, as opportunities to learn, to grow, and to come back stronger. Let's talk about the power of our social circles, the people we surround ourselves with, the energy we allow into our lives. We often underestimate the profound impact that our relationships have on our well-being, on our mindset, on our overall growth and fulfillment. The truth is, the people we spend our time with, the conversations we engage in, the energy we exchange, it all shapes who we are, how we think, and how we show up in the world. Think about it. When we surround ourselves with people who are negative, who are constantly complaining, who drain our energy, it's easy to get pulled into that same downward spiral. But when we consciously choose to surround ourselves with people who uplift us, who inspire us, who challenge us to grow, it's like we're plugging into a source of positive energy that fuels our own growth and expansion. Now, I understand that we can't always choose who we interact with on a daily basis. We have colleagues, family members, acquaintances, who might not always align with our values or aspirations. But we can choose who we spend our free time with, who we confide in, who we allow to influence our thoughts and beliefs. Imagine for a moment the feeling of being surrounded by people who believe in you, who support your dreams, who challenge you to be the best version of yourself. People who celebrate your successes and offer a listening ear during challenging times. When we cultivate relationships like these, we create a support system that empowers us to thrive. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire growth doesn't mean cutting off everyone who doesn't fit a certain mold. Let's talk about purpose, that deep-seated feeling of knowing why we're here, what gives our lives meaning. It's not always a grand mission, sometimes it's found in the simplest of things, in everyday moments. When we align our actions with our values, everything changes. How often do we go through life on autopilot, drifting without direction? It's easy to lose sight of what truly matters, but when we live with intention, we infuse our lives with meaning and fulfillment. Discovering our purpose is a journey of self-discovery and exploration. It's about asking ourselves, what am I passionate about? What brings me joy? Imagine waking up each day with a deep sense of knowing why you're here. Living with purpose and intent means making choices that reflect who we want to be. Remember, real change starts from within, and you have everything you need to create a meaningful, fulfilling life. Keep reflecting, stay committed to growth, and we'll see you in the next video on Reality Reflections.